Kumaris. Organization now has its headquarters in Mount Abu, Rajasthan, India. But previously, it started in Hyderabad, Sindh. And there was a community, very elevated, prosperous community there. They had a very different lifestyle because of their prosperity. The young men were often sent to the UK or elsewhere to study, and the young girls were often married off early and went off to live in their in-laws' home. So basically they were trained to be ready for their educated husbands to come home, and they would be there to serve them in the style that they were accustomed to. In other words, the style of their own mother, because the mother-in-law had trained them. But at that time there was a man called Dadalek Raj who was a diamond merchant, and he created jewelry for the elevated personalities of India and Pakistan. Brahma, because Dadalek Raj became known as Brahma, and you know, the Brahman caste is the highest caste. So Brahma, Dadalek Raj, and his highest consciousness became known as Brahma Baba.
So Brahma means highest?
It's the elevated caste. The Brahman caste is the elevated caste in India. And Baba, he became the father of humanity as such. Kumari means daughter of Brahma. And at that time there were many women involved in the movement because he became responsible for the liberation of women in India. If we want to look at the origins, we have to kind of say, well, why did souls want to meditate? And the word yoga is normally used for meditation. It's slightly misunderstood though, because often people associate it with hatha yoga, that is the physical yoga, because that's the yoga that became popular. So generally we tend to use the word meditation, not yoga. But yoga means union or connection. Now, yoga, Raja Yoga, the highest form of yoga, means that we have that connection with the Supreme Being. However, that was actually our natural state. So we started off in a condition of being connected to our original qualities, expressing our original qualities. In every religion, in every culture, there's a knowledge of the golden age, of the Sun dynasty, of the age of Atlantis. And there is evidence of those ages. And that was the time in which we were connected to our divine qualities. Well, the culture of the BKs really, you can say, started with that first small gathering. And in that gathering, there was a family atmosphere. So it took away that sort of competition of the world, who kind of provide some kind of adversity. And I think, often in the world, instinct is what rules, sort of animalistic behavior, you know, that survival instinct. And that survival instinct, to me, seems something I will survive, it doesn't matter what happens to you. But when we work as BKs, we're working on the level of intelligence, which means that I am because you are. It is actually really close to the Ubuntu experience.
BK philosophy is quite universal. I don't think it's a religion. I think it's something that is compatible with any religion, that it enhances what you already know through your own religion. That's my personal belief, because I believe that all religions are the same, are different paths to the same place. So I think it just enhances that path. It gives you a deeper understanding of the spirituality behind the religion as opposed to just the religious practice. It's simply about deepening what you already know. You can spend hours meditating on your religious principles. You can feel the soul that you are within your religious context. I think it's very compatible with any religion. We had questions about baptism and how can I go to heaven if I'm not baptized, but then we see in every religion there's all kinds of representation of water as cleansing. Even within the BKs, the color orange is purity, and it's associated with water, and that's about cleansing yourself and cleansing those on the outside. Within Judaism, we have a tradition called Tashlich, where once a year on the Jewish New Year, you're supposed to cast your sins, which we usually use breadcrumbs as representatives, into the water. And there's something there again about water cleansing. And then you have baptism in Christianity, and there's a lot of the same representation for the same kind of philosophy. Yeah, I think of the times when I've been living in Israel or in South Africa where they go to the sea and they do that. No, my parents don't.
They don't?
No, we don't have a Christmas. Christmas is representative of the birth of Jesus, no? Yeah. So for us, we only believe in the Old Testament. That's our Bible. We have the Jewish New Year, which, because the Jewish calendar is on a lunar calendar, it falls at a different time on the secular or solar calendar every year. It's a little bit shorter, but it's usually around the September time of the year, because that time of the year is the spring in Israel. So that tends to be that's our New Year. And then we have various holidays and pilgrim festivals throughout the whole year, but we don't have a Christmas. Around the same time as Christmas is a festival that we call Hanukkah, which is the festival of lights, but they don't have any relationship. That festival is about when, in the time of the Maccabees, there was the miracle of Hanukkah was that the temple was destroyed. However, they only had enough oil to last one day, and yet the miracle was that oil lasted the 8 days that they needed to make more oil to put in front of the ark. The thing about Judaism is that it's both a religion and an identity. And
What's the identity?
with regards to let me start with the religion. With the religion, there's all the basis of all the principles that come from the Bible or the Torah or the Old Testament. But with regards to the identity, we take traditional and cultural bits and pieces, and I would say every Jew lives their Jewishness in a different way. But for example, I would consider myself a secular Jew, but I would still participate in Sabbath dinners with my family. I would still celebrate certain festivals, but I'm not going to the synagogue every week or living the Orthodox life. But I would still consider myself a Jew, and I still find small ways in which to practice that. Though I would say it's much more difficult, or perhaps not more difficult, but I'm less motivated as a single person. I think when you're part of a family, it's far more motivating because you want to share that with your children. It's like sharing your culture. I think that the way that it was shared with me was through Jewish education, through biblical stories, through the organization of the family, through the Sabbath dinners and the blessings before the meals once a week. If you're a religious Jew, you have the blessings every single day, and then you have a special one for the Sabbath. But within my family, we just had the Sabbath once a week. There are things like the fact that I grew up not eating pork. That's a way of sharing the culture. Or on Passover, we don't eat anything with flour or yeast or anything that's leavened for 8 days. There's moments throughout the whole year where there's a festival or a fast day or something of the sort where you might go and participate in the community and have a party, or you might have a solemn day. And there's all these little interjections throughout the Jewish calendar where you participate in your culture. different Jews came from different places. I think there was a huge wave from Eastern Europe of Jews that fled the pogroms there. Part of my family came from that, from Lithuania. And then I think there was a wave of what we call Sephardic Jews. The ones of Spanish descent, the more kind of Arab-looking Jews that came in various waves. But my grandfather, who came in 1954, left. He was living in Israel, which had just become Israel from Palestine, where he was born and raised, and he left there because he had an uncle who was working in Africa, and he was the eldest of 5 brothers, and they were very, very traditional, quite religious Jews, and he, as the eldest, it was his responsibility to find fortune so that he could take care of the rest of his family there.